second to be sure he recognizes us.
Okay. All right, well, we do have a posted agenda, although in light of weather and a couple of other changes, we're going to veer from that a little bit, take a couple of items out of order and defer a few items. Bonnie Halston, the Assistant Town Administrator, Town Accountant, won't be able to join us tonight, so items that she would be directly involved in, we will put off to our meeting next Tuesday, the 26th, unless anybody wants to bring anything up in particular. We had the Littleton Public Schools. We have the school committee chairman, Paul Avello, with us tonight. Originally, we had the reserve fund transfer request from the schools at the end of our agenda, but since PJ was available and we were able to accommodate, I think we'll handle that first up. And the other items I'll deal with in turn. So with that, I believe everybody should have received, did you get the letter? I forwarded the letter from PJ on the reserve fund transfer request. We do have the letter, we have the form here. Bonnie had Jennifer provide this, so we do have as written anyway, school committee desires to conduct a security assessment of all 4 schools with the intent to strengthen security measures in the buildings to further enhance the safety and security of students and staff. The amount requested is $7,500. And again, this is, it's a reserve fund transfer request being made of the Finance Committee, and to that end, our general criteria is both appropriateness under the emergency or unforeseen contingency content, and then just general agreement with the request. So probably most appropriate, while we do have the letter, we appreciate it. PJ, if you wouldn't mind just summarizing what the schools have in mind and what you'd like to do?
Certainly. Before Newtown, Connecticut, we had already been looking at it on a continuing basis. We have the Safety and Security Subcommittee that meets routinely, that has Darrell Baker from the school committee as the chair of that subcommittee, along with other administrators and other community members. As I say, they meet routinely. So that process is something that's been ongoing. The evening before Newtown occurred, we actually directed the superintendent to get with the police department and start looking at some different methodologies on how to protect people inside the buildings should something bad happen. One of them is called the ALICE program, and I'm going to ask me to spit out the acronym for you. What it does, in the shortest of definitions, going from cower and hide as best as possible to some sort of active defense, to escape the facility, if you will, to put up a resistance to whatever the threat may be. And certainly the efficacy of that particular rationale, or the efficacy of it, as I say, is still debatable, and it's ongoing. We want to have that debate. And then Friday morning, right after that, is when Sandy Hook, the crimes took place there, and all the children and staff were murdered. That certainly added a further impetus to us to go a little bit more quickly. So, and that's what we've done. Two-pronged on the short-term issues here. One is we're installing some devices in the school buildings to help alert police more quickly should something happen. Middle school already has this panic button in the colloquial terms. We want to install it in the other 3 buildings. We are going through two-pronged to make that happen. One is some internal funds to the school department already, and funds from a 2008 warrant article for a fire alarm system in Shaker Lane of $20,000. There's roughly $5,000 remaining in it. And last night before the selectmen, we asked to transfer that, and there'd be an article, it's Article 8 on special town meeting come May, is where that'll be, to transfer the use of that to go towards these panic buttons. Now the next step was to get a security analysis and have a security professionals come in and look at our buildings and tell us what we can do to improve what we have now, enhance those particular items that already exist, or what might we need. We're going to have to go down a road to pretty much establish a requirement, if you will. We've made a very conscious decision, and it's a public decision. We don't want to turn our schools into armed fortresses. We think that's just the wrong thing to do. But yet, how do we keep that safety and security for everybody that's in the buildings throughout the day? And that's what we want to try to learn from a security consultant. And that's the reason for the $7,500. We received a quote on that from Neshoba Security, and thus the amount of money. And we're already taking some money out of the school budget this year, which means we won't do something else. That's why we're asking you for this particular sum at this time to go forward.
Okay, so again, there are two prongs, the other item, capital items, being the panic button, as you call it, for want of a better term, is being funded both by existing funds that you have, as well as conversion of an old warrant article.
That was a school warrant article for Shaker Lane.
Okay,
And it's roughly $5,100 that remains in that, and that's, we want to move that over.
okay.
And that takes care of that specific task of putting panic buttons in the other three buildings.
Okay. In this specific $7,500, all of that is for the security assessment, and that's the
Yes.
coach given. Okay, great, I'll turn it over to members for questions. Fred, you?
So, in the letter that you sent us, that Paul sent us, I believe, I read in here that your intent would be to, assuming the school committee agreed with the recommendations, the plan would be to implement in 2015 budget.
Yes.
And I guess my question is, if it's safety and security, why would we not come back in the fall and?
Well, actually, I'm glad you said that, because if I left that out of the letter, I made a mistake. It certainly was my intent, and I think I did put it in the letter.
I may have missed it.
Should there be a, first off, you're correct, FY15 is where we would come to you in the normal capital budgeting process. Unless there was something that emerged out of there that we should do now.
Right.
And then we would come back to you all.
It may be here, and I may have missed it, Paul.
Correct, okay.
I just encourage you, if there is something like that, if it is truly for the, safety of the kids, there's no question, we should find a way to do it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, Alan?
Pretty
So-
straightforward.
So this plan's just gonna be cameras and panic buttons? Is that the?
Right now, panic buttons. As far as cameras, certainly we could assume that may be part of the solution, but we want to bring that expert in as to what's the best way to do it.
Are any of these schools like security access where you gotta be like buzzed in?
Yes, all of them.
All of them are?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
we do have that at the doors now. There are cameras, so staff can see, and people are buzzed in during school hours.
Great.
Now, it's fair to say that the consultant's kind of given you a general philosophy that you don't want to be an armed fortress, but beyond that, I mean, you don't know yet what their recommendations may be.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
And I think there's, there'll be an ongoing discussion, and some of it'll be public, some won't, because it's security measures, and we will do that in executive session. But I anticipate a discussion, and frankly, we will be involving definitely the Board of Selectmen, and perhaps you all, and not so much just from the money issue, but some of it will be an executive session, as I say, and we want to kind of get that balance. It's our community, it's our kids, and it should be all of us, somewhat involved in that. But again, respecting that we're not going to make everything public as to what we think we should do and how we'll do it.
How long would you expect the study to take?
The study itself shouldn't be all that long. I won't hazard a guess to say, a couple, 3 days or a week, but certainly not much more than a couple of weeks for them to walk through the building, survey the building, and then begin putting their mind to paper, if you will, as to what their recommendations may be. So if this is something, if we put a timeline to this,
Right.
if the money's authorized to us in the next couple, 3 weeks or whatever, we're talking middle of April or so, I should think we're on contract by the end of April, and certainly come Memorial Day, give or take, we've got a reasonably good idea as to where we're headed.
Well, if they can perform that quick, and there's something glaring that they notice, I mean, the sooner we act on it, the sooner you can implement it theoretically.
Yes.
My impression here was that you folks were hoping for action tonight, and I don't know what the board's feeling is. I don't see any real reason to hold on it.
I'm prepared to move to approve the request.
Okay. All right, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the request from the school committee for a reserve fund transfer in the amount of $7,500 for the purposes of to conduct a security assessment of all 4 schools with the intent to strengthen security measures in the buildings to further enhance the safety and security of students and staff. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You got it? We just have to sign it and you're all set.
And I'll keep you appraised of where we are in this process as we go through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, at a bare minimum, for our perspective, we're obviously interested in the security measures, but there's capital implications and all the rest of that, so. Okay. There are two other items that, just since you're here, PJ
Sure.
might want to mention. One is, partly because we are televised, you were kind enough to make us aware, sorry about that, that you'll be giving your budget presentation on Thursday, and I did email members of our board to encourage them to attend if they're able to make it. But we're hoping we'll have some representation there, and we appreciate that.
Oh, super.
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing it up, because I did want to invite you personally. I know I sent you the email
Yep.
inviting you all, but certainly a personal invitation, as we did with Board of Selectmen last night, to come on out. It's a public hearing. It's one we do, at least 45 days before town meeting. Last Thursday on the 14th, we went through the budget, more line by line on the spreadsheet, throwing that up on the board and going through it. And what we'll have this Thursday is more a PowerPoint presentation, showing the priorities, what we're doing in each of the buildings.
When we last talked, it was mostly, thank you, like a cost center presentation, and your Thursday would be more the full line item.
Yes, and, more detailed than just pure cost center, certainly. As you know, Kelly asked, and we all agreed, we being the school committee, to reorient how we do the cost centers, and we do now 8 cost centers, and you'll
Yep.
see how that's explained. What that'll show, though, as we go through line by line, you'll see some of this as we go back and forth,
Right.
because now it's a new line item in a different cost center,
Yeah.
or realigned cost center for those new ones, if you will. So there's some things that show minus 100%, plus 100%. And,
Okay.
we'll explain that again that evening. It's
Break out FTEs, is it FTEs based, or is it just budget number based?
budget numbers, yeah. Yeah, I think I understand what you meant by, going by the full-time equivalents as to, which building. Not impossible to do by any stretch, but when I guess we really get to it by just adding up, because it's gonna be the first,
Right.
FTE number 1 is salary whatever, FTE number 2 is salary whatever, as we go through that. So I think that probably answers
We
your
spend a
question.
lot of time on it, Wayland. We just list all our teachers, how many teachers, how many TAs, how many nurses, just everything, but everything's by FTE, so.
Yeah, and that's how the building does it. And that gives you the salary line.
Right.
Total salary line, and then there are the expenses and other issues, transportation, fuels, et cetera.
The other item I wanted to just make you aware of, and I know you were present here when we were meeting with the last joint meeting we had, and we agreed upon I don't know what we call it, a working group or a subcommittee to look at the financial bylaws and policies. The selectmen made their appointments at the last meeting. It'll be Greg Champion, Jim Carr, Chris and I will be representing our board. Bonnie, Keith, and Steve Venuti will be resources from the town administration. And I didn't know if you were gonna be the school committee's invited rep to that process, or whether you wanted to designate somebody else, but within the next week or two, we will probably be just trying to get off the ground on that.
Expect Mike Fontanella,
Okay. Yeah.
because he runs the budget for us. So I'm gonna take a note to ensure I don't drop the ball on that.
Yeah. We haven't a meeting date set yet. I'm gonna have to send circulate an email and find out what times work for folks.
Okay.
This wouldn't be specific to the budget, the annual budget process, as much as, like Fred was alluding earlier, more of the long-term planning. We found in the areas where we do have policies, surprise, surprise, they actually.
It works well.
Yeah.
Everybody understands
Yeah.
what is actually gonna happen.
Of course, one's policy could be follow no one else's policy.
Well,
Yeah.
that'd be
We already
right.
have that.
Right.
If you include me on that email, please, though.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I think probably formally, you guys should designate. I'll get an email out before your meeting Thursday night, so you can confirm one way or the other, whether it's yourself, Mike, or whoever. We'll be happy to work with them.
Or both.
Or both. Well, actually, we designated one spot, but I don't think we're gonna turn anybody away.
It's a priority. Okay.
You're welcome to hang around, but
I do appreciate that kind offer of you, sir.
we won't be long behind you, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And I really can't hang on, and I'll talk to you more.
Okay.
But thank you, though. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, PJ.
Drive safe.
Thanks.
Okay. I will substitute for the finance director's report, the report of my conversation with Bonnie as of this afternoon, which was just updates on certain topics that might have been left hanging from either our last meeting or from, I think they've had 2 selectmen meetings since we last met. Looking at my notes, both Keith and the selectmen have been made aware of our feelings on the Park and Rec's status in the budget, the way we had left it in terms of continuing the appropriation this year, but leaving it very much a subject to be, readdressed for a long-term solution pending the auditor's report, and everybody seems to be fine with that, and they understand it, so hopefully there won't be any misunderstanding when we revisit it down the road. I mentioned committee members. There's updates as well on the TIF finance front. I'm not sure how much got forwarded along to the entirety of the committee, but of the 2 items we were considering, one was the straightforward TIF on that company Mevion, which is presently located on Foster Street and was gonna be moving to Taylor Street. That's off, at least for now, so it's off the warrant.
What happened with that?
Huh?
What happened with that?
I don't know, I don't believe it had anything to do with the town. I think it was just the mechanics of the deal itself fell through, so that, at least in the short term, that project is off. However, the other project that Betsy was our representative to for the kind of the reverse payment in lieu of tax program, a deal which was described as very favorable, most favorable possible under the legal constraints, has been negotiated, that the selectmen are enthusiastic for it. I think Betsy, as our representative there, also felt that town got a good deal on it. We'll be seeing the details of that.
That's the,
Yeah, that's the
Solar.
solar, right, yeah,
Solar.
Nexsun is the name of the company, yes, yeah, for the property up on Air Road,
right.
on the rooftop. So there will be a warrant article on that. Let's see. Littleton 300, in the person of Jack Holman, made a presentation to the selectmen, and although the subject had been bandied about whether or not there would be any request for a town appropriation, I wasn't at the meeting, but I guess Jack felt strongly that they were looking to conduct all their activities without any town appropriation, or at least any additional appropriation. So there still may be some formal town involvement on grant processes. We gotta work that part all out, but in terms of any warrant article, we're not looking for anything. It occurred to me, and I discussed this with Bonnie, that there is actually a department that's new to the town budget process, but it's been around for quite a while, that we didn't do a review of this year, and that's the local community television. So she agreed. She said that they do indeed have their budget in the books, but we never had them come in, and she thought it'd be a good idea, as did I, that at some point she and probably Mark will come in and explain, just, probably members of the cable committee as well, explain the dynamics of funding for the cable television. I guess it's, 100%, Alan, off of the rates?
Comes from the funds that come from the rates, Comcast and Verizon. They're required by law to provide either a studio and do PEG programming, or provide the money. And we have a contract with them that they provide us 5% of their.
But in terms of expenditure, I guess they are 100% appropriation of the town, so the money does come into the town and then
The
is
money comes into the town,
expended out, appropriated out.
to the cable account,
Yeah.
and we have to go through just the same as anybody else does. But it's not, the funding is, none is appropriated funding, so.
Mhm.
So is it run through an enterprise fund, or
Not that-
what
no.
mechanism does she have to do that?
There is a.
Revolving
a
fund.
It's a revolving fund, and it's,
Yeah, okay, so revolving funds are supposed to be run through, it's a pro forma, but it's supposed to be run through town meeting.
And it is, I guess it's in the budget.
yeah.
The appropriation's in the budget.
Well, we just did, it's part of Article 4, it was in budget last year. The renovations that we did was an article in town meeting.
Yeah, I remember
It was
that.
I
voted.
remember that.
But we didn't get
that
any-
article, but
We never got a presentation, never had them appear before us back in December or got a presentation. She did say, and I just don't remember it, I don't deny it, that their page is in our budget book, but
Yes.
it's in an article for appropriation, right?
Yep.
Yeah. In any event, having cable, represented the committee and the administration come in and speak to us about that, something we're gonna try to do in the next couple of meetings. Which adds them to the list. Now, here's the meetings as we currently have them scheduled. I know there was, we just went through a period where there was a little confusion, because I had asked that we combine, get rid of two and add one, but for the remainder of the budget season schedule, I just want to confirm that we all have the same dates and the same topics that the folks were looking to hear from. What I have are only 4 more meetings currently scheduled. Bonnie had the same 4. One is next week, the 26th, and then 2 weeks after that, the 9th, 2 weeks after that, the 23rd of April we're into now, and then finally April 30th. And the 30th would probably be our presentation, our show. Bonnie seemed to think that was adequate. There's no pressing need to add or change anything, although she was going to check her master calendar to see if there were any other dates that we're aware of. Obviously, the school hearing on the 21st is one. The people that we were looking to hear from that we have not seen as yet, to the extent that we have responses, the sewer committee is actually meeting tonight as we meet. They're up on the 3rd floor, they're supposed to be. And they may not have numbers until April, so I'm not sure how that's going to work for there is a Place Saver warrant article on there, and we do have a request into their chair that we would like to meet with them. I'm gonna press that again, even if they don't have firm numbers, I'd kind of like to get them in for us sooner rather than later. Similarly, on the CPC, Bonnie had sent their chair, Mitt Wanzer, an email requesting that we would like to see him. Has not heard back from him as yet. And then similar, on a related note, the citizens petition folks, which I believe is Rick Finley heading up the effort on changing by a ballot question, the CPC fund. I'd like to schedule it at the same time, but CPC hasn't confirmed a date on that yet. And we still need to get light and water in here, as well as both the auditor and the actuary. Bonnie seemed to think that the auditor, Vic, where he is, could be available for next week's meeting. So as soon as any of these folks are available, we'll bring them in. Now we'll add the cable TV to that list. But as far as that goes, and then a ultimate review of the warrant articles, final review of the budget and the presentation, that looks to be the amount of our activity between now and town meeting. Until something blows up.
There is a drop dead date for the Finance Committee report.
Yeah, I talked with Bonnie today on that, because when I went to rewrite it, I realized the most important thing I didn't have in there were the updated numbers, so she said she would get me all of the updated numbers for that. She's not in a position to do that right now, she's out of town.
Okay.
And that was it from Bonnie. We have, she did print up for us, or had Jennifer print up for us, the budget and capital updates, warrant articles, as well as her report. If anyone wants to raise any issues that are included there, speak now. Otherwise, we can wait till next week to review it when she's here. Website update. I did check it out. I mean, you can get on there, but I don't know if the full functionality's up and working. Peter's not here. I'd wait till he was here to address that. Upcoming schedule we've addressed. Oh, in the minutes. Now here's, I'm not sure, I don't recall how much information's been shared with the whole committee, but there were 2 minutes from the previous year where we did indeed take votes on borrowing items that did not find their way into the minutes. Not surprisingly, they were both at meetings we had prior to the annual and the special town meeting, where sometimes the minute taking.
So we didn't even do those, so it wasn't like a finance committee meeting, it was a joint meeting or?
Well, it was one of our posted finance committee meetings prior to the town meeting.
it was, you know, the half hour before town meeting.
Okay, right, yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so
Right,
that's
right,
what they
which-
were.
Right, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised no minutes were taken then.
Yeah, and, well, the minutes were taken, they just didn't include these items, which were voted. I mean, you can take a look at them, I'll circulate them. They're both Water Commissioner borrowing articles, standard stuff. The difference here is not in anything we've done per se, it's just that bond council, according to Bonnie, for the first time is now requiring a copy of the Finance Committee meeting minutes, voting on it. So we do have minutes from those meetings, it did not include these votes, so what has been asked of us is that we vote, and I'll circulate these if you want to take a look at them. Did I forward that by email? I did forward it, okay.
Yeah, I
The
read
one
them.
change I noticed is that they have incorrect membership on there. For the vote last spring, Peter was not yet on the board, but Al Rasmus and Dick Montminy were both there, so I would amend her version to include that. And I believe she left Brian Tarbox off the fall vote, but everybody was there at both the fall special and the spring
Right.
annual, yeah.
Yeah, we were all there.
Okay.
So one meeting was in May?
Yes.
What was the other one?
It was this past fall, special town meeting.
Yeah, okay.
We got the dates there, Fred, do you see them there?
I'm sorry, well, it was May 7 was the, and then November 14.
Oh, yeah, no, 14. Okay.
So the motion we would be looking for, unless anyone wants to make any change in that, is to amend the adopted minutes for those two meeting dates, May 7th, 2012, and November 14th, 2012, to include the language to reflect the Finance Committee vote in favor of the borrowing articles for the Water Department. Maybe I should take them one at a time, then. Someone want to make a motion for the May 12th minutes to amend the May 12th
Excuse
minutes?
me,
Yes.
this is the amendment,
Yes.
not the total minutes.
Not the total. Total minutes exist, that's just the amendment to it.
Yeah, so somebody just needs to add it to the minutes and then come back and
Yep,
revise?
according to the clerk, that's fine. They'll just add that to the existing minutes.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as written for the May 7th FinCom, May 7th, 2012 FinCom meeting, accepting the Water Commissioner's borrowing authority.
Second.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes, which would be an amendment to the existing minutes for the May 7th meeting as described. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and
You can do the other one.
I'm chair, I gotta have someone else to do it.
All right, I move that we amend the meeting, the minutes of the FinCom meeting, November 14th, 2012, to reflect the recommended,
Amendment?
to reflect the vote to approve the Board of Water Commissioners borrowing for well number 2.
Second the motion?
Okay, then the motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes, the form of the amendment for the November 14th meeting as described. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. We have one other set of minutes, I don't know if folks had a chance to look at, but promptly after our last meeting, Marilyn was good enough to get minutes out for our March 5th, 2013 meeting. Anyone want to make a motion or discuss?
We need to, when we get those, it's draft form.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone receiving that came back and said, no, that's not what I said, this is what somebody else said.
Well, we can do that right now.
Doesn't
Here's our
include-
opportunity to do that now, or I suppose you could do it by email in advance of that. I looked through it and nothing caught my eye on that.
Yeah, me either, but
But if in fact anything,
if someone had a
Input.
problem with it, I didn't
you'd write back to.
know that.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is a draft go out,
Which you did,
which it did. And then if it's changed
okay,
or amended,
okay.
I'd like to see that, so that I've got a copy of the minutes in
Gotcha.
my hand.
All right.
And this is fine,
Yeah.
if nobody amended it.
Going
then-
forward, we'll make that clear to everybody, but you, I take it you didn't get any feedback?
No, Al, let me tell you how PMBC works, and this is probably what you're looking for to have happen here. I send the draft out, and I usually say with a note, please get any additions, corrections, deletions, et cetera, back to me, and I put a date. So it's like the weekend before the next meeting, and then I will resend the corrected copy back out.
Right.
This is what I do
Yeah.
with PMBC.
That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
I'll be happy to do it.
So that we come to the meeting, I've got in hand the final form. And then if
So maybe the
if
easiest
we
way to-
missed anything, we can amend it here.
I think you said something similar to that in your previous email, but if maybe in
Yeah.
from tonight's minutes, if you can just make that clear to all the members,
Yeah.
how we want it to work, we can do it that way.
Thank you.
But as far as these minutes go, did everybody get a chance to look them over? and
Yeah.
Fine to me.
All right. The date was March 5th, so
Move to accept the minutes of FinCom meeting of March 5th, as written.
Second.
okay, motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes of the March 5th Finance Committee meeting as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, nice have it. Folks, I'm not gonna pull a Rand Paul on you and filibuster, that's all I've got, so, anyone else has any other items?
Website update is, I go on the town website, and over on the side where they got everybody listed, there's a thing at the very bottom that says budget something or other. Is
Right.
that-
That is it.
Is that what he's doing?
Well, that, Nancy Glencross had put it there under that kind of vague term,
Right.
so that we could see it for
Oh, it's called
functionality.
finance.
Yeah, whatever it was, fine, you know,
Yeah,
there is,
finance,
it's like the
yeah.
exact bottom, so, if you went there, you'd see part, what I noticed was, I don't think the entirety of what Peter gave her is up there yet, it's only up
No.
there in part, so we weren't trumpeting it yet until it got done.
Yeah, I just,
But
I
that's-
thought that's what it was, but I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'll ask.
So I left a phone message for Peter today, and I didn't hear back from him, and I assume he should be dealing directly with Nancy on getting that up, but she obviously hasn't put up everything that he gave her. When she does, when we're comfortable with it, then we can announce to the world, although the world is right now hearing that it's up there anyway, you can see our draft form of what our new website page will look like. But that is indeed it, if that was your question.
Thank you.
Anything further, folks? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, that sounds like a good one.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Yeah. We must have a well-run town if we can get through.
Yeah. So anyone else go on Thursday night? I'll go Thursday.